Nitin, thank you very much for joining us today. So what's your outlook for 2016 in a broad information technology services sense and in some of the verticals which clearly are experiencing some pressure like banking and financial services?
Sure. I think the underlying needs and opportunities for the sector are transitioning and shifting slowly but surely. And I don't think it's that slow either. So I think what's happening is while a lot of the business was in what we call the run, and some of it was development as well, that you can call that change. Increasingly, a lot of the focus is now more and more on how do you help customers adopt new technologies and what we call digital modernization. So that's kind of the real opportunity right now.
Give us an example.
So, let's say you're a bank and over the last few years, you've created a digital business, digital front end, so to speak, right? Your customers can connect with you through mobile, through e-commerce, through website, through any channel, it's omni-channel. But your core systems aren't truly digital yet because you still have batch processing, you still have legacy systems, you still have some element of offline. So the experience for the consumer is not truly real time, always available 24/7. Compare that to a new digital business, whether it is a payment business or Uber type business, you can transact in few seconds and you can do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? So I think that digital disconnect has to be bridged, and that's really where a lot of the focus and energy has to go for not just the enterprises that we service, but as service providers to those enterprises, we have to be able to find the right set of solutions and offerings for them to be able to make that.
And how's that journey going?
So that journey is a multi-year journey because these are systems built over the last 30, 40 years. A lot of intelligence sits in them. They're very robust. They can transact at high volume. They are very, very resilient systems. So the journey is started, I would say, very recently, maybe last couple of years, they started to focus more on this core systems upgradation or modernization. I think it'll accelerate over the next 3 to 5 years. And I have a very, very good idea as to, why they need to do that. And they have a very good idea of that as well. But I think the core of opportunity really is in undertake that journey in the most efficient way. And that's where while automation is a buzzword, that's where you have to use the most intelligent computing automation, most intelligent tools for them to be able to actually make that bridge in the most efficient way.
So obviously there have been many such shifts and transitions in the last 2 decades, but this transition or shift, many people feel is much more significant and sometimes even could claim much more casualties than ever before.
I wouldn't say that they'll claim casualties, but yes, every company will have to find their own way to get there. You're right, last 20 years, we've seen many pivots. The one difference between the previous pivots and today's pivot is the industry as a whole is much bigger today, which is both a good thing and can also be a challenge. But having said that, I think the value migration from the large global enterprises in terms of being able to use this industry, those triggers are still very much in place. So I think each company will find their own way. Each company will find their own set of offerings to kind of help clients undertake it, and some of them will start differentiating from the others through this process. But overall, I would really say that the opportunity still exists. We have the tailwind. We are in a secular business, so to speak, from the point of view of what kind of value we deliver to those customers.
Right. So the other themes that are being talked about are automation and artificial intelligence, robotics, and all of that. Now, it could be dismissed as buzzwords, but it does seem that these are having real implications on people's businesses and jobs.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the implications for enterprises or our customers. I think, as I said, right, they need a significant amount of investment and effort in undertaking this journey of digital modernization. One way to look at automation and the benefit it provides is the fact that you can actually lower the effort, cost, and time for processing either IT processes or business processes. Once you start saving money in your day-to-day run business, you can start freeing up investment dollars to invest in your transformation or change initiatives. Also, a very good byproduct of deploying automation is your risk controls get better, your turnaround times get shorter, and your customer experience gets better as well. So it's kind of a virtuous cycle from that perspective. I'd not necessarily agree that the impact on jobs is going to be as big as it's made out to be because productivity has been a way of life for the last 40 years. I mean, that's what automation and computers have been all about. Quality of jobs will definitely shift, right? So I think the opportunity or the challenge, and they go hand in hand, really is for the leadership, the workforce in this industry to upgrade, to evolve, and to truly become what we call a digital workforce by having the ability to learn new skills pretty much on the fly.
Right. So, I was on a panel called The Death of Competition, as we know it. It seems to me again that, competition today is coming from areas which you never thought of earlier, and it's surely not part of the earlier radar screen that you could, set up and then watch what was happening around you. What's your own sense, and what's the one or two things that you're watching out, very carefully in terms of trendsetters, in terms of change makers?
So I think clearly disruption can come from your own industry. It can come from a nearing industry. It can come from a completely different industry. And we've heard all of these examples in the last 2 or 3 days. So I think issue really is you have to watch out for disruption, but more importantly, you have to understand how, if you're an enterprise, how you can continue to step up your level of service and products to the digital native consumer. The biggest reason disruption is happening is not because it's fashionable, it's because the consumers are adopting faster, they're expecting turnaround times, they're expecting everything to be available. And in many cases, they're sacrificing loyalty over convenience and ease of use. As long as you're able to cater to the captive customer needs, I think you'll have a lesser of a chance from getting disrupted. But yes, because of congruence of all the technologies we've talked about, from computing to sensors to GPS to AI to robotics, the propensity of an outside industry to disrupt your industry is much higher today. So from that perspective, I mean, that's the challenge and the opportunity of evolving technology needs. And a lot of these technologies have been around for years, but they're at a tipping point now that actually they can start having a real impact.
And because of this magical confluence that you've talked about.
3D printing's been around for a while, but now it's kind of getting to a price and scale point where it can have real impact on manufacturing. Right. Sensors and GPSs have been around for 30, 40 years, right? I mean, they used to be what was the secret sauce in those intercontinental ballistic missiles. But now you can buy a sensor chip for less than $1 on Alibaba. So I think the issue really is the compute power has gone up exponentially, the prices have fallen exponentially, and that's causing a lot of interesting dynamics for almost every industry you can think of. And I think there'll be a lot more of these examples going forward. Energy could be one, solar power is another one, batteries. So again,
are these areas that you're also working with in some ways?
We are looking at how best to create a set of capabilities, and I call them bolt-on, right? So if you look at IoT, for example, it's really a congruence of sensors, GPS, and data, right? So if you have a core understanding of how these three underlying technologies work, then you can actually create new bolt-on offerings and help customers adopt them. So that's the approach we are taking.
Right, Nitin, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.